April 10th, 2014. Welcome aboard, ladies and gentlemen. Dr. Peter Glidden, your steadfast advocate for health, encouraging you as soon as is humanly possible to stroll around my website, fireyourmdnow.com, and avail yourself of the multitudinous amounts of information that is present right now that you can use to take a dramatic step forward in your attempt to support and promote your body's ability to optimize its structure and function, because that is what it can do. Today is Metaphysical Thursday, and we had a last-minute guest change. I am not able to interview the guests that I had scheduled for today. Next week on Metaphysical Thursday, you want to mark your calendars for this one. We're interviewing one of the foremost proponents of the yoga movement around the world. Marshall Govindan, also known as Satchidananda, will be with us, discussing the Siddhantan concept of the soul, the spirit, and its relationship to the human body. It's going to be a fascinating conversation. We're getting it right from the horse's mouth. That's a week from today, God willing, and the creek don't rise on Metaphysical Thursday. The week after that, I'm looking for a Buddhist Lama. I have a number of Buddhist Lamas on the line who will be discussing the same concept from their point of view. The week after that, we're going to have a Roman Catholic theologian tell us his or her concept of the soul and the spirit from their point of view. And every Thursday moving forward, I'm going to dial in a different luminary from a different major world religion to give us their points of view about the relationship between the soul, the spirit, and the human body. And at the end of all of these interviews, your head will explode, because all of these points of view have one thing in common, and I'm not going to tell you what it is now, but guaranteed your head will explode. Make sure you tune in next Thursday and the following 4 or 5 Thursdays after that. You know, the people that I'm trying to get on board the program here have very, very complicated schedules, and we do our very best to accommodate everybody, and we do what we can one step at a time. Today, I'd like to talk about Dr. Eli Jones. Dr. Eli Jones, MD, by the way, was born in 1850 and died in 1933. He was a medical doctor, an MD, a licensed MD who treated cancer. He's the author of the book Cancer, Its Causes, Symptoms, and Treatment, giving the results of over 40 years' experience in the medical treatment of disease, and another book called Definite Medication. Dr. Jones studied conventional medicine and practiced for 5 years before deciding that the medicine of the day, MD, standard operating procedure medicines, was harmful due to its dependence upon such harsh cathartics like calomel. He then turned to eclectic medicine, which relied on herbal extracts, including those of the Native Americans. Imagine that. He went back to school, graduated, and practiced eclectic medicine for another 5 years. He learned homeopathy, again went back to school, and then practiced as a homeopath. Quite a remarkable career Dr. Eli Jones had, and I'm going to read you extracts from his book, Cancer, Its Causes, Symptoms, and Treatments, giving the results of over 40 years' experience in the medical treatment of cancer by Eli Jones, MD, published by B. Jain Publishers from New Delhi. I quote, "It has been said by some critics that cancer can never be permanently cured, that it always returns. In reply to this statement, I wish to state that I have a record of cases of genuine cancer that have been cured for 15 to 20 years, and that there has not been a single symptom of the return of the disease. I have had cases of cancer come to me for treatment that had been operated on from 1 to 8 times. Others had been treated by plasters or by some kind of injection fluid. If I ever did have any faith at all in the knife as a cure for cancer, it has been rudely shattered, because 4/5 of the cases of cancer I have seen in the past 40 years had been operated on, and the cancer returned worse than before. Other cases have tried the X-ray, radium, escharotics, hypodermic treatment, etc., before I saw them, with the same negative results. Of those cases which I have taken before any form of treatment had been used, I have cured 95%. Let me read from that again. Of those cases which I have taken before any form of treatment had been used, I have cured 95%. It is quite probable that during my lifetime I have seen more cases of genuine cancer than any other physician and have made more permanent cures. The record of this work will be found in this book. I have visited patients in 25 states of the Union and have seen all forms of the disease. It has taken me many years to lift this business of treating cancer in all its forms out of the mire of quackery and raise it up to the dignity of a specialty, to place it in the hands of educated men whose heart and soul are in the work of saving these poor victims of cancer from an untimely grave. I have written this book. These men can and will do a grand work for poor, suffering humanity, and may be blessing of a kind providence rest down upon their labors. And then he gives a little poem here, a little quote. In the battle of life, when the wave and the gale are around and about, if the footing should fail, if thine eye should grow dim and thy courage depart, look aloft and be firm and be fearless of heart. Now, end quote. Dr. Eli Jones, I'm going to read more from his book, The Treatment of Cancer, Its Causes, Symptoms, and Treatment, in just a second here. But Dr. Jones' medical work existed before the onset of chemotherapy, Chemotherapy came into being, nobody really knows, right around 1920, 1930, and then it took off like a greyhound after World War II. Dr. Eli Jones's treatments stood in direct opposition to conventional pharmaceutical methods. He stood in direct opposition to conventional pharmaceutical methods. And because he had eschewed conventional wisdom, because he was working outside of the box of conventional pharmacology, because he was doing herbs and homeopathy, because he was using treatments developed by Native Americans, he was blacklisted, he was defamed, he was slandered, and his work, even though unbelievably successful, was completely ignored by the mainstream, who went after chemotherapy. Now, why on earth do you think they went after chemotherapy? Money, baby, money. This from the Journal of Clinical Oncology, Volume 16, Issue 8, December 2004, pages 549 to 560. By the way, the Journal of Clinical Oncology is the gold standard of scientific cancer research. It is the gold standard of scientific cancer research. A study was published in Volume 16, Issue 8, December 2004. After 14 years of data, the study that was published took 14 years to compile. 14 years. They looked at 14 years of data from 1990 to 2004. And, when you're doing a statistical survey, the bigger your T-score, the bigger your data set, the more accurate your results are. As your numbers go up, the possibility that your results are wrong go down, 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 and down. This was a gigantic study. And these results, published in the gold standard of cancer treatment in 2004, concluded, after looking at 14 years of data, that 97% of the time, 97% of the time, chemotherapy for adult-onset cancers does not work. 97% of the time it fails. This published, 10 years ago, 9.5 years ago. This was published 9.5 years ago. 97% of the time chemotherapy for adult-onset cancer doesn't work. This published in the Journal of Clinical Oncology. Now, can somebody please tell me why the high and mighty MD oncologists who are all about the scientific method, who are all about, prove this and double-blind that, otherwise don't even talk to me, why they can ignore published research that flies in the face of their conventional therapeutics? Because they are intellectual cowards who care more about their pocketbook and more about their reputation than they do about the truth. They will not rock the boat. At all costs, they must maintain the status quo, even if the status quo is 97% ineffective. Chemotherapy, brought to you by the close-minded allopathic reductionist, who is the grand marshal of hypocrisy. Because on the one hand, for the MD, it's all about the scientific method. It's all about the double-blind, placebo-controlled study. And yet, when the double-blind, placebo-controlled study reveals that their therapeutics are completely ineffective, they ignore the results. Ladies and gentlemen, another reason to be afraid, and I'm using my words carefully, of your medical doctor. Because they are not open-minded and objective. They refuse to look at published research that goes against the conventional wisdom. 97% of the time, chemotherapy is ineffective. Can somebody please tell me why cancer treatment centers are springing up all around the world like mushrooms after a spring rain? Because money, baby, money. It's gigantic. And again, listen, right, the MD, because of their philosophical orientation, is not trained to be concerned with how to cure anything. They're only trained how to manage things. More from Dr. Eli Jones's book when we get back. I'm going to read you a clinical case study that guaranteed is going to make your head explode. If you're driving your car, pull over to the side of the road, pull into a parking lot. If you're sitting at home, put a heavy book on your head, because it's about to get real. April 10th, 2014. I'm reading excerpts from Dr. Eli Jones's book, Cancer, Its Causes, Symptoms, and Treatment. Dr. Jones, an MD, treated cancer without chemotherapy, treated cancer with homeopathy and herbal treatments for 40 years, had unbelievably remarkable results which were completely ignored by the mainstream, who instead went down the road of ineffective, expensive, dangerous chemotherapy. Doctor, this is a remarkable book, and I just want to make one thing very clear here, right, where I'm not talking about treating cancer. It's illegal for anybody but an MD in this country to treat cancer. The reason that I'm talking about this is to draw perspective and a comparison. If we had taken up, as a country, Dr. Jones's methodology, he died in the 1930s. If we had focused on his successful methodology from the 1930s until now, imagine what type of results we'd have with cancer. While we instead have focused on the pharmaceuticals industry treatment of cancer, we get therapies that are expensive and 97% of the time do not work. That's why I'm bringing this to light for you. Because the medical industry has been co-opted and monopolized by the pharmaceutical industry. And remember, it's not the drug, it's how it's used. And in a monopoly, corruption is the name of the game. It is what's at play all the time. It's not about your health. It's about their wealth. But I digress. Dr. Jones now telling us about a remarkable case, two remarkable cases of breast cancer. I quote, in February 1884, I treated a lady in Monmouth County, New Jersey, for cancer of the breast. It had been coming for 18 years. She was 45 years old and of a rather delicate constitution. This cancer had kept on growing until it burst out like a full-blown rose upon her chest. It measured 22 inches in circumference, and after its removal weighed 4½ pounds. Several doctors had seen the case, and there was no question about the diagnosis. None of the doctors offered any encouragement. It was considered a hopeless case. She had consulted the noted surgeon, Dr. Agnew of Philadelphia, and he said that it was beyond human skill to cure it. During the progress of the case, several complications arose. She had neuralgia, heart trouble, congestion of the lungs, etc. I met each complication and treated it successfully. The lady lived for 3 years afterwards and never showed any symptoms of the return of the cancer and died from heart disease. It was a desperate case, but it made my reputation in New Jersey. The case was reported by me in some of the medical journals. The newspapers of New York and Philadelphia mentioned the case, and people came in carriages for many miles around to see this case. It was the largest cancer ever removed in this country from the female breast by medicine alone, not by surgery. Here's what he did. He had herbal pastes and herbal treatment solutions that he had, herbal recipes that he had put together based upon his experience. I applied paste number 1. This paste was applied once in 24 hours for 6 days. I then poulticed with the poultice powder once in 2 hours until the tumor dropped out upon the poultice. I healed the remaining sore in the breast with the yellow healing salve applied on soft white cloth 3 times a day. For the enlargement of the glands in the armpit, I applied solution boroglycerin on lint 3 times a day and had it well rubbed in at the same time. To keep up her strength, I gave her 5 grains of quinine 3 times a day before meals and a syrup of phytolacca, 1 teaspoonful after each meal. Once or twice a week, she was given 2 of the cathartic pills that I had developed, herbal cathartic pills at bedtime to keep the bowels regular. I will not take up the space with the treatment of the various complications that arose during the case, but simply refer the reader to my other book, Definite Medication. The tumor dropped out, and the whole treatment from start to finish took about a month. And this tumor that had been growing 4.5 pounds for 18 years dropped. It just fell off of the body. And then he healed the wound, which was left with an herbal paste. Unbelievable. I'm going to read you one more case at the very top of the next segment. And then we're going to go to Puerto Rico and talk to Miguel. But ladies and gentlemen, this is it. This book is full of remarkable stories like this. Not just breast cancer, but to every type of cancer imaginable using herbal medicine. Now, why aren't we focusing on this? Why is it illegal for anybody but an oncologist delivering radiation and chemotherapy to treat cancer? Because we do not have a free medical market and your options are limited by big pharma. You know, we don't have any perspective on this stuff at all, which is why this radio program is important. It is. We don't have any perspective on any of this stuff. You know, we're too busy with our lives. We're too busy with our wives. We're too busy with our jobs. We're too busy with everything. We're too busy with our kids. We just trust that the people who are running the show of medicine know what's best for us, and we leave it at that. But in point of fact, because the pharmaceutical industry has monopolized the practice of medicine for the last 100 years, your person in charge of your health, your go-to MD, only knows what they've been trained in. And what they've been trained in is an old-fashioned, dogmatic, outdated field of treatment, which is completely inconsistent with the reality of the human being and produces unbelievably horrible results. But because they own the show, they can do whatever they want to do. You know, I'm a big Game of Thrones fan. I don't know if you've ever watched that show, but you know, and it's completely fantasy. But the fact of the matter is, when you are a member of a kingdom, it's the king's way or the highway. The king can do whatever he wants, with no repercussions. It's the king's way or the highway. Well, that's the way that it is all around the world. It's the MD's way or the highway. The MD gets to do whatever they want to do, and when they hurt you, when they fail you, when they kill you, there are no ramifications. And, you know, your trust, your innate trust as a human being. Human beings are trustful and honest, by and large. If you're a psychopath, you're not. But those are the exceptions that prove the rule. Most people are honest and trusting, and your trust has been taken advantage of by the pharmaceutical industry. They know that they've got you over a barrel. They know that you're too busy to figure all this out on your own, and they know that you're just going to trust your doctor knows best, because you don't have you don't have time to do all this research. And don't you love that? You pay hard-earned money every month to gain access to medical treatment in the form of insurance mandates, insurance payments, medical insurance payments every month to give you access to MD-directed treatment. Hope against hope. Heaven forbid something goes wrong with you. Something does go wrong with you. You don't like what the MD has to say. You don't like their treatment options. And so what do you have to do? Research it on your own? What are you, kidding me? That's what you have to do. So, yeah, that's a good idea, isn't it? Yeah, let's give those guys $100,000 over the course of our lives. You know, it adds up. $2,000 a month in medical insurance premiums, $5,000 if you have a family. Forget it. That adds up pretty quick. And what do you get for all your hard-earned money? Oh, sorry, we've got nothing for you. Do a Google search and see what you can come up with. You've got to be kidding me. More from Dr. Eli Jones. I quote, in 1890, I met in consultation a prominent physician of the regular school who had grown old and gray in his profession and wanted my help to cure a case of cancer that had been sent to the cancer hospital from Washington, D.C. The doctor in the cancer hospital in New York City pronounced it as a case of serous cancer and beyond cure. The old doctor that consulted me was very anxious for me to try and cure the patient. I found a large cancerous growth on the right breast, partly ulcerated and involving the whole of the mammary gland. There were lumps in the axilla, the armpit, and the arm of the affected side was causing her some trouble. She was confined to her bed. The case had been diagnosed as cancer by 3 prominent surgeons of Washington, D.C. It was supposed to be too far advanced for any surgical operation. To cause the growth to contract upon itself and make it grow smaller, I first applied an herbal plaster. Spread thin on white leather and apply as directed. This plaster was applied every 48 hours. It causes no pain. 10 days after the plaster, every 48 hours, the growth had flattened down some and had contracted considerably upon itself, and the general health of the patient seemed much improved. I then began the active local treatment by applying paste number 1 once in 24 hours to the growth spread on a white cloth. After 6 days, I began to use the poultice powder every 2 hours until the mass came off on the poultice. I then healed the sore with the yellow healing salve applied 3 times a day on soft white cloth. For the hard lumps under the arm, I applied solution iodobromide calcium, full strength on lint 3 times a day. I also gave her a syrup, an herbal syrup of scrofularia, which is an herbal medicine, a tablespoonful after each meal, and 5 grains of sulfurated quinine before each meal. The above treatment cured the patient so that she never showed any symptoms of the disease at any point in time for the rest of her life. That's just 2 stories out of I don't know how many stories there are in this book. It's a page turner though. Cancer, Its Causes, Symptoms, and Treatment by Eli Jones, MD. And ladies and gentlemen, Eli Jones, because he went away from the mainstream, because he eschewed conventional treatments which are ineffective, dangerous, and expensive. The medical profession disowned him, paid no attention to him, even though he had hundreds of documented cures of cancer. And this was in, between 1890 and 1920. 1933 when he died. Right around the same time chemotherapy started, 1920. Chemotherapy, of course, delivering to us unbelievably ineffective treatments, so ineffective that the American Cancer Society has stopped even considering the word cure. Now they talk about a 5-year survivability. Right? They move the goalposts. So if you have been diagnosed with cancer now, you embark upon a conventional MD treatment and you're still alive 5 years later, that's considered a successful treatment. Even if 5 years and 1 day after the beginning of the treatment you die from that cancer, it's still considered a successful treatment. And that is inhumane. But the MDs get away with it because they're the kings. They can do whatever they want. They can chop off anybody's head anytime they want, and they walk. They get a walk. And you don't know any better. You trust. And, I mean, let's be honest. You've got a cancer diagnosis. You're scared to the bone. And you go to a high-tech, multi-million-dollar facility loaded with people all thinking the same way. You are going to be intimidated and convinced that it's their way or the highway. But if you just take a breath, just take a step back, and ask your oncologist the 10 questions in my book about this type of cancer. Just ask the oncologist 10 straightforward questions, politely, with a witness and a recording device. You will not go forward with the cancer treatment. Because when you get the answer to these questions, you will know that the cancer treatment provided by your MD is ineffective at curing your cancer. Best possible scenario is you'll still be alive 5 years from now, but your personality will be changed. Your physiology will be changed. You'll need mood elevators. You'll need sleep medications. You'll need amphetamines. You'll need all this stuff just to bolster you up into a mediocre quality of life while the cancer rages within. It is an insane, outdated, monopolistic therapeutic driven 100% by money. You know, I'd love to get Suzanne Summers here. She's written a great book, outlines this from, her perspective. She was lied to, out and out lied to by 2 different oncologists, giving her, cock and bull stories about the effectiveness of their treatments. And nothing happened. There's no repercussions. This is what happens when you rule the roost. And one more reason, perhaps, like you needed another one, to fire your MD now. I could go on and on, ladies and gentlemen, as I am wont to do, but this radio show is as much for you as it is for me. 844-DR Glidden. That's the number to call, by the way. It's toll-free. 844-DR Glidden to talk to me live. 844 Dr. Glidden. Let's go to Miguel in Puerto Rico and see what's happening. Hey, Miguel. Thanks for calling. You are live.
Greetings, Dr. Glidden. My name is Miguel. I'm from Puerto Rico. I'm calling for 2 reasons. I want to thank you because I followed your advice. I no longer have the symptoms of MS. And my father has high blood pressure. I was wondering what pack could he buy to fix his high blood pressure.
So your signal cut out a little bit on me, Miguel, there. What was that you said about MS?
I followed your advice, and I no longer have the symptoms of MS.
No, wait a minute. Wait a minute. How long had you been diagnosed with MS?
I got diagnosed on November of last year, so about 4 months or so, 4 or 5 months. But I healed in January.
Yeah, so you went on board with our therapeutics and you were completely recovered by January?
No. I followed the advice you gave and avoid the top 10 bad foods.
Yeah.
I did that, and I completely avoided all acidic food.
Yeah.
And I just ate alkaline foods, and also because of my research, I found out why MS even happens on women, too. I started reading a lot. And it's really complex, but it is completely curable. And right now I'm consumed to help you start back 2.0.
And you're 100% multiple sclerosis symptom-free.
Yeah.
Hallelujah, and pass the hat. That's remarkable. Isn't that remarkable? That's unbelievable. Well, it's not unbelievable. We see it all the time. But, my hat goes off to you, Miguel. Number one, for being open-minded enough to start to look and take up your own cause, having faith in us to know that we're not selling smoke here, to get on board with our program and to trust us enough to try it. And, God bless you for getting out on a soapbox in public here and telling people about your success. My hat goes off to you, man. You've just made my day.
Thank you, sir. I also called because my dad has high pressure, and he just won't be convinced it can be cured naturally. And he's taking 8 pills a day, and I don't want him to die or have something to him. I'm really worried about his health.
All right, so here's what you want to do. I would get a brochure from a local cemetery or a local funeral home, okay? I'd hold that in one hand, and I'd hold the longevity products in the other, and I would say, here, Dad, you choose. Which one would you like? Now, maybe if you're dramatic and kind of, a little tongue-in-cheek at the same time, maybe that will convince him to at least give it a try because, what's he got to lose? And nothing. So most of the time, high blood pressure is a simple calcium and magnesium deficiency. So the first thing to do to support and promote a healthy circulatory system is 1 Healthy Start Pack, original formula, because I want him to have the liquid calcium. 1 Healthy Start Pack per 100 pounds of body weight per month. 1 extra bottle of Beyond Osteo FX liquid a month. And 2 bottles of selenium per 100 pounds of body weight per month. That's the Healthy Start Pack and selenium per body weight. 1 extra bottle of the Beyond Osteo FX liquid every month. Okay, take his blood pressures every day, a couple times a day, and watch the numbers come down. Well, that's not a bad way to, end the week. This guy has a definitive diagnosis of multiple sclerosis. Calls us up. We don't treat multiple sclerosis. We just advised him what he could do to support and promote the structure and function of his central nervous system, which is what multiple sclerosis affects. And now, 5-6 months later, he's completely symptom-free. Now that beats a poke in the eye with a sharp stick. Why isn't this type of research? Why isn't this type of treatment strategy being researched? Why don't we pour millions of dollars into this methodology? Because there ain't no money in it. You cannot patent a naturally occurring substance. You cannot patent vitamin C or calcium. If you can't patent it, anybody can make it. And that dramatically reduces the profit motive, and medicine here is 100% profit-driven. Fire your medical doctor now. Let's go to California and talk to my old golf buddy, Javier. Hey, Javier, thanks for the call. You are live.
Thank you, my friend. How are you doing?
Well, I'm good, but I'll get better. Are we all dialed in for golf in a couple of weeks?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, I'm looking forward to it. Send me an email with the details.
Okay.
Prepare to have your confidence completely smashed, Javier. I'm thinking $100 a hole. What do you think? Is that a good idea? Is that a good bet? Hey, listen, man, it's always a pleasure to talk to you. How can I help? What's going on?
Okay, I have 2 ladies and a daughter. One lady is 65 years old, 157 pounds, and she has, how do you pronounce this, CIRRHOSIS.
Yeah, cirrhosis of the liver, yeah?
And she has low blood pressure, and she has diabetes and depression.
Yeah, well, I'd be depressed, too, if I had all of those things. No kidding.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. All right, so what we want to do here is support and promote her blood sugar. We want to support and promote her circulation, and we want to support and promote the liver. Now, the liver is easy because the liver is the only organ in the body that completely regenerates itself. You can cut most of the liver out and it'll grow back. And no other organ will do that, but the liver will. So the liver, if I had to choose one organ of my body to be messed up, I'd choose the liver because you can fix the liver in your sleep. It's an easy thing to do. So the recommendation here at 150 pounds, I would do for 90 days, I would start with the Healthy Blood Sugar Pack, 1 Healthy Blood Sugar Pack, and you said 150 pounds. 1 Healthy Blood Sugar Pack and 4 Ultimate Selenium. 1 Healthy Blood Sugar Pack, 4 Ultimate Selenium. 1 extra bottle of Beyond Osteo FX liquid, 1 extra bottle of Beyond Osteo FX liquid, and I want you to do the original healthy blood sugar pack, the Osteo FX liquid for selenium, and the final thing for her here would be the Prohoba-Hepal. 2 bottles of Prohoba-Hepal a month. You can also counsel her to start juicing fresh squeezed beet juice. 1 to 3 ounces of fresh squeezed beet juice a day. She can add any other juice that she wants to make that taste better, but I want her to have 1 to 3 ounces of fresh squeezed beet juice in her body every day, plus eliminate the 10 bad foods. We only have a minute left, Javier. You have one more?
Okay. Yeah, Maria Luisa has hemorrhoids, and her daughter has acne that she cannot get rid of.
All right, so for acne, we look to blood sugar, and we eliminate the 10 bad foods, cut way down on carbohydrates, even gluten-free carbohydrates, and we intervene internally with the healthy blood sugar pack, 1 healthy blood sugar pack, and 1 selenium per 100 pounds of body weight per month. And externally, we use the Pure Works foaming cleanser on the skin that's affected with the acne. The Pure Works foaming cleanser on the skin affected with the acne. To support and promote the body in the face of hemorrhoids, we have to support the blood vessel integrity. We do that with extra selenium. So the recommendation is the Anti-Aging Healthy Start Pack, 1 of those, and 2 Ultimate Selenium per 100 pounds of body weight per month. And of course, buddy, you know this, everybody stops the 10 bad foods. Keep your head down and follow through, brother. I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Hour 2 coming up, folks. Stick around.